Every single year in the United States, at least 38 children on average pass away from hot car deaths. This occurs when a child is unknowingly or maybe purposely left inside of a hot vehicle and they pass away from heat stroke. Now, in most cases, this is accidental and the parents unknowingly leave their children inside of the vehicle. But what about the cases that are not accidental? On August 5th of 2018, 13-year-old Christina Pangalangan passed away from heat stroke after being left inside of a hot vehicle for 6 hours. Her mother and her caretaker, Rita Pangalangan, and Rita's boyfriend, Larry King Jr., placed Christina into a hot vehicle in the middle of August in South Carolina. They then proceeded to spend the next 6 hours just walking around, speaking, fighting. They even go inside to have sex at one point. Oh, and lots of itching. But they do several things for the next 6 hours while Christina is sitting right inside of that vehicle, literally cooking to death. Still to this day, both Rita and Larry claim that they accidentally locked Christina inside of the vehicle. But for some reason, they seem to disregard the home security system that recorded the entire thing. And after seeing this surveillance footage, you will realize that not only was this not accidental, but this was the act of two complete monsters. This is the case of Christina Pangalangan. Christina Pangalangan was born on March 28, 2006, to Rita and Walter Pangalangan. She was born with severe intellectual and physical disabilities that resulted in her being wheelchair-bound and nonverbal. Now, I would like to clarify that her being nonverbal did not mean that she could not make noises. She was still very able to make noises, to make humming noises, things like that. However, she was not able to communicate in a conversation. The family all lived together until roughly February 3rd of 2008 when Walter filed for a separate support and maintenance. Now, this is similar to a divorce, but both parties end up still being legally married. On November 26 of 2013, that is when Rita filed for divorce. Throughout the years, it seemed as though Rita and Christina lived a pretty happy life together. Rita had two other daughters as well that would often spend time with them. They would often take Christina out to dinner or to events, and it seemed like the family always spent time with her, and they obviously loved Christina. But around 2019, something changed. Maybe it was Rita's new boyfriend, or maybe it was the fact that around this time is the unfortunate time she got hooked onto drugs. But whatever the reason, something changed. On the afternoon of August 5th of 2019, in the middle of summer, Rita and her boyfriend Larry placed Christina into Rita's vehicle, closed the doors, and left her in there for almost 6 hours. When police were finally called to the home, Special Agent Hallie Godley arrived to find Christina lying face down in the grass. She was already deceased and her body was covered in blisters. When Special Agent Hallie asked Rita what happened, Rita stated that she put Christina into her car with the AC on, went inside to get cigarettes, and when she came back out, the car was locked. What I don't think Rita expected was for the entire incident to be recorded on home surveillance footage, essentially proving that her original statement was completely a lie. The footage shows that Christina was left inside of a vehicle for almost 6 hours in direct sunlight in the middle of summer, while Rita and Larry essentially cared less about her. She was cooking to death inside of a vehicle that they spent several hours just standing next to and talking. During their trial, the prosecution played the entire almost 5-hour surveillance footage for the jury and everyone inside of the courtroom. The surveillance footage not only proves that Rita's initial statement was a flat-out lie, but that these two are complete monsters. So I'd like to play the surveillance footage for you guys here, and I'd like you to keep a very close eye on the timestamps in the upper right-hand corner. I will be playing this video on high speed throughout just for time's sake, but if you would like to watch the entire 5-hour long video, the trial is available up on YouTube and it does show the entire thing. The only moment that's not included in the surveillance footage is it obviously cuts off before they pull Christina out of the vehicle and everything that happens afterwards. At 11:16 a.m., Larry is seen carrying Christina to the car, followed by Rita. Larry then proceeds to, what looks like to me, throw Christina into the back of that car. At 11:17 a.m., she closes the door and it remains that way for the next 5 hours and 41 minutes. From 11:17 a.m. to 11:44 a.m., they are very visibly arguing until they go inside at around 11:44 a.m. And let's not forget about the itching. The itching. So much itching. What is going on here? At 12:30 p.m., Rita comes outside, opens the driver's side door, sits inside for a moment, then gets out, opens the back door, closes both doors, and goes back inside. So at that point, Christina has been sitting in the back of an unlocked vehicle for over an hour. A hot, unlocked vehicle. At 2:02 p.m., they are talking and visibly arguing again until they start kissing and hugging. You can see around 2:03 p.m. that they are starting to get a little cuddly, and they both head back inside. It was confirmed at trial that they did go back inside to have sex. at this time. At 3 p.m., both of them come outside and are just kind of lingering around the porch talking. At 3:03 p.m., Rita goes to the car and attempts to open all of the car doors, but they seem to be locked. From 3:03 to 3:05, they are talking, and I am assuming maybe figuring out how to open the car. I don't really know what they were talking about, but they were talking for several minutes. At 3:07 p.m., Larry goes to what appears to be a shed in the back and grabs a few tools. From 3:13 to 3:17 p.m., they both come back to the car and Larry attempts to, very gently, might I add, open the windows. And not only do they proceed to go around that car and very gently try to open the windows, they do not at all attempt to break any windows. So what we do know for a fact is that at 3:03 p.m., both Rita and Larry are aware 100% that Christina is locked inside of the back of a hot vehicle. Now, I don't know about you guys, but me as a mother, if I saw that my child was locked inside of a hot vehicle, I would break every single window to get them out. So the lack of urgency in both of them as they are aware that a child is locked inside of a hot vehicle is just so incredibly odd to me, especially when they're trying to say that this was all an accident. From 3:17 to 3:35 p.m., Larry and Rita sit on the front porch swing while Larry appears to be doing something on his phone. Again, the lack of urgency as they are sitting there with Christina inside of that hot vehicle. At 3:35, Larry and Rita both go inside. From 3:38 to 3:52, they both go out to Larry's truck doing who the hell knows what inside of the truck you can't really see. And then at 3:52, they both leave in Larry's truck. Now, in my opinion, I think this is probably the most heartbreaking part of the footage because if Christina is still alive at this point, She just watched her mom and her mom's boyfriend gently attempt to open a car to get her out, and then after 5 minutes, after 10 minutes, after 20 minutes, after 30 minutes, she hears her mom and her mom's boyfriend leave. They left her there. Imagine the hurt and the fear and the just pain she was feeling, knowing that her mother left her inside of a hot vehicle as she was very clearly in pain. It makes me so sick to think about what Christina was possibly feeling at that moment, hearing her mother leave after knowing she was locked inside of a vehicle. At 4:40 p.m., they both arrive back in Larry's truck, but they don't get out for several minutes. At 4:44, they both get out of the truck. Rita walks up to the car and she starts messing with the door. At this point, it appears they have another set of keys in their hands. At 4:45, you can see them both peeking into the windows, and I believe at this point they know that for sure Christina is dead. Later in this video, we will learn that Christina was covered in blisters when she was pulled out, so they likely saw that she was covered in blisters. So this is a very important part of the surveillance footage as well, and I'd like you to remember this timestamp. At 4:46, the front lights of the car start going off, meaning they have a working key fob that appears to be doing something. Again, you can see them messing with the key fob and then the lights start going off, so something is happening with that key fob. At 4:47, Larry goes back to his truck and grabs his phone, and him and Rita begin hugging. From 4:48 to 4:58, they both go to Larry's truck and are possibly on the phone. I'm not sure if this is the exact moment they called 911, but it was around this time. Now, at this point, the footage does cut off for the general public, but the court and jury did watch the remainder of the footage where they pull Christina out of the vehicle and when a special agent gets there. According to the police captain, based on the footage that we all watched, they determined that Christina was inside of that vehicle for a total of 5 hours and 43 minutes. Both Rita and Larry were arrested on charges regarding the murder of Christina. Rita's bond was set at $100,000 and Larry's was set at just $50,000. Both of them bonded out and were released on September 11th of 2019. They obviously remained out in the general public from 2019 up until 2023 when they finally had their trial. They were out living in the world for 4 years after they killed Christina. It's sick. During the 3-day trial of Rita Pengelangen and Larry King Jr., many people testified, including the captain of Colleton County Sheriff's Department, Special Agent Hallie, who was the first on the scene that day, a forensic pathologist, one of Rita's daughters, and even Larry testified. According to Special Agent Hallie Godley, who was the first person on scene that day, when the 911 call came in, she was right down the street, so that's why she was the first on scene. Originally, it was reported as a 12-year-old girl who was locked inside of a hot car. When she got there, she stated that she saw Christina lying face down on the grass, and she was already deceased. Larry was walking around the yard, and the front door of the home was open. Rita was not outside, but she was inside of the home. She stated that she rolled Christina over, and this is when she saw that she had blisters all over her skin. She went inside to get Rita, and Rita was still inside pacing back and forth. At that moment, Rita told her that she had put Christina in the car, went inside to get cigarettes, and when she came back, the doors were all locked. We obviously know that this is not true, according to the surveillance footage.
When you arrived on the scene at, make sure I get this exactly right, the 116-850 Texas Highway, could you describe what you find once you get there?
Initially, as I was responding, initially I passed the residence, and as I passed it, I saw two legs sticking up out of the tall grass in the yard. And in my mind, it reminded me immediately of at the time, my daughter had the life size Anna and Elsa dolls.
Just tell me what you saw. Just speak up.
So as I returned back to the yard and got out of my vehicle, I saw Christina on the ground, face down in the tall grass, and Larry walking around the front yard.
All right, you say Larry, who are you talking about?
The individual in the button-up shirt, light blue or white, dark brown beard, with glasses and bald head.
And do you know his full name?
Larry King.
And Your Honor, the record, she identified the defendant, Larry King.
It does.
Whereas in Larry King, what is he doing when you get there?
He's walking around, and I believe he was still on the phone with 911.
Did you see Rita Pangling?
Not initially.
So tell me, when you walked up on the scene, exactly what do you see?
I see Christina laying in the tall grass, face down, Larry walking around in the front yard, and the front door of the residence was open.
Tell me what this is. Tell me what this is depicting. This is States Exhibit 5 up on the monitor.
This is right when I got on scene that day.
So is this you in the blue shirt?
Yes, sir.
Is that a blue shirt, by the way?
It is.
Okay. And who is that standing beside you?
Larry King.
Okay. And where is Christina the child?
She would have been off the rear driver's side bumper of the car.
All right, so you can't see her. She's on the other side.
Correct.
And again, where is Rita Pangling at this point?
Inside the residence.
At some point then, did you go and get Rita Pangling out of the house?
I did.
And where was she when you went in?
She was just beyond the living room, pacing around inside the house.
Did you bring her outside?
I did.
Did she tell you what happened?
She did.
What did she say? Or excuse me, did she tell you? What did she tell you happened?
She told me that she put Christina in the car, went back inside to get cigarettes, and when she came back, the doors were locked.
The doors were locked. What?
On the vehicle that Christina was in.
Tell me what this photograph is depicting.
This is what I saw when I got on scene, as far as where Christina was. Also the vehicle, the Volkswagen was parked just as it is there.
Now, when you say Christina, did you know her? Or did you just learn her name later, or did you know her name?
I knew of her previously.
Okay, so you knew her. So when you say Christina, you know that's who that is?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me go now to State's Exhibit 4. Tell me what's depicted in that.
Again, it's another picture of Christina laying in the overgrown grass.
State's Exhibit 1. Is that a fair and accurate depiction as you saw it that day?
It is.
Tell me what that depicts.
Also, Christina's body after it had been rolled over.
And then State's Exhibit 3. Tell us what those are.
Blisters on her skin, which is showing down to her raw skin.
Captain Jason Chapman of the Colleton County Sheriff's Office also testified. After his department reviewed the surveillance footage, they found that Christina was locked inside of that car for exactly 5 hours and 43 minutes. The entire defense of Rita and Larry was that the car was locked and they were unable to get it open. Towards the end of the footage, you can see the lights on the front of the car flashing. Captain Chapman wanted to test the key fob and the car to see exactly why those lights would be flashing. When he tested the key fob on the exact car and was testing how those lights could have gone off in that way, he did confirm that it was impossible for the lights to go off like that if the car was on, like Rita said. The only way for the lights to flash like that using the key fob was if the car was off and if they were pressing the panic button. He also stated that it is impossible for the panic button to work without the lock and unlock button working, meaning that if the key fob was dead, it is impossible that the panic button would have worked. So essentially this proves that there is no way the car could have been on, hence there's no way the car and AC was on, and there is no way that that key fob was dead and they couldn't unlock the car.
And this is where you said, look, the lights are flashing.
Sure.
The lights won't flash if the vehicle's running. So he hands the key fob, gets handed to Larry. Larry's fumbling around with the key fob, hitting all the buttons there, or maybe not.
Sure.
You'll fight with me on that. And then there's the lights flashing. You're saying there's no way those lights will flash like that if the car's running.
Now, right there is not the same point in time that Solicitor Stone and I discussed.
Oh, we'll get to it, and I got that.
Are you, hold on. You can't ask me something and run off from me. Do you want me to answer that question?
Go for it.
All right. Right there, those lights are not flashing in response to pushing the lock or unlock button. They're flashing in response to pushing the panic button on the side of the key fob. The difference is the style of flash and the pattern. The key fob, when the panic button is pressed, it will flash regardless of whether the vehicle is running or not running, as long as the vehicle has power. The difference is it is a very patterned, systematic flash. No matter how many times you press that panic button, it will flash in this pattern. You can't hit it 3 times and get it to stop and start again real quick. It will stop at the end of that pattern and pick up again at the next pattern. What you saw there was 1, 2, 3, I can't remember if it's 3 and 3 or 4 and 4. Those are responses from the vehicle and the fob to the panic button being pushed, not the lock or unlock.
And that's what you told this jury? Because I'm going to pull the video up of you testifying.
No one asked me that question.
Okay.
We were talking in regards to lock and unlock, and I encourage you to pull the video up because I'm very confident of what I said.
Okay. And so with that, the other time it flashes is when they pop off the handle when they're on with Stokes lock and key and manually turn it. It flashes.
There's another set of flashes between this set and when they actually get the door unlocked.
And your position is it's not the panic button?
That series after this, prior to the final set of flashes when the vehicle is unlocked, because you can physically put the key in the lock,
and it'll flash.
And when you lock or unlock the vehicle, it will flash, but that is not in response to pushing the lock or unlock button. That is physically turning the key. And we know by what they've stated and what we see on the video, the only time the key was actually placed into the key on the door, and that's the only key location on that 2012 Volkswagen. If you turn it left or right, yes, it will flash in correlation to lock or unlock. But the series after this and prior to that, my testimony was that cannot be done with the key fob because it is not the same systematic patterned flash that the panic button shows.
The most heartbreaking part of this trial is when the forensic pathologist testified to state exactly what Christina went through. The forensic pathologist testified that the body will start to shut down around 105 degrees. When paramedics got there to examine Christina's body, they showed that her temperature was at 109.9 degrees, which is actually the highest temperature that the thermometer can read, so it is likely that it was higher than that. Christina's cause of death was determined to be hypothermia due to neglect, and the matter of death was homicide. They testified that Christina had signs of skin slippage, meaning that her body was already showing signs of advanced decomposition. She had vomit that was aspirated into her lungs, meaning that she threw up as she was dying and choked on some of that vomit.
Now, I want to make sure everybody can see it. The doctor's house, I've now put this in a position where you can't see it. So let me ask you, if you can keep your voice up, but could you come down and describe to us what you have on this drawing?
Sure. So what we have here is a generic body diagram. At the top, there are just general things that we're going to examine on every case. So when we're performing an autopsy, again, our goal is to determine the cause and manner of death. That being said, we start with an external examination where we examine the body from head to toe, essentially like a physical examination your physician would perform. So we're noting the height, weight, eye color, hair color, all those sorts of things. So those are noted up top. We then have a body diagram that we use to note any findings on the body. Again, it could be a scar, it could be a tattoo, or any sort of abnormal findings that we see during the course of the examination.
And what is the height weight on this, by the way?
This individual was 58 pounds and measured 56 inches in length. So I believe that would be 4 foot, 8 inches approximately.
All right, and you studied the medical records on this individual. Go ahead, I'm sorry to interrupt.
I believe that was true.
All right. So after you get the general information, then these other drawings on the body, what do these indicate?
Sure. So the main findings externally on this the decedent were these areas where we kind of have these kind of ragged outlines here. There's one on the right elbow. This would be the right side of the abdomen. You can see there's some on the right thigh, some on the left thigh. Also, there's some on the left knee, and on the right back, left arm, right thigh. So these were areas of what we would call skin slippage. So the skin, essentially started to blister or pull away from the body. Some of these areas also had a really dry, yellow, orange, kind of leathery type of appearance. So certainly nothing we would see in a normal examination.
So in the context of those two, you've got the skin slippage or the blisters, you've got the leathery. What's the difference between the two?
So with skin slippage, we typically think that's part of the breakdown process of the body, what we call decomposition. So that's going to be determined based on how long an individual has been dead, but it's also really driven by the temperature. So when temperatures are high, decomposition is going to ensue much quicker than if the temperature is much lower. When we start to see the more leathery type of lesions, that tells us there was some sort of injury to the body, some sort of actually burn to the body. In this case, the reason it has more of a leathery appearance is because the body wasn't truly functioning well at that time. If somebody really has a burn, their heart is still beating, everything is vital, it's going to really have more of a reddish appearance, kind of more angry type of appearance. So when we see that leathery appearance, we know there's an injury to the body, but likely kind of during the dying process or even after death.
So what do those two tell you from the standpoint of the manner of death?
The fact that we have the blistering in the body, again, it would attest that there was increased temperature for an individual that's been dead for a limited amount of time, number of hours. You would not expect to see the skin slippage and blistering in somebody who was found at ambient temperature like we are here today. That's something that would really take probably days to start developing that slippage. So the fact that we saw that skin slippage would indicate there was a higher temperature. And again, with the more leathery appearances, that's probably likely the body was in contact with something that again caused more of a surface skin. That's fine. Otherwise, most of the organs, again, all the organs, I should say, were well developed. There was no evidence of any severe natural disease of the heart, lungs, any of her other organs. The other notable finding we did see as part of our examination of internal organs was that she did have gastric contents or vomit that was aspirated down into her airways and into her lungs.
All right, can you tell us if that took place while she was alive or after she was dead?
That would have occurred probably during the dying process. After her brain had started to dysfunction and shut down, some individuals lose the bowel, bladder function. Another thing would be to start vomiting. And so in this case, she would have vomited during the dying process, regurgitated some of that into her lungs.
When Larry testified, he stated that when they were leaving, him and Rita were arguing because Rita had recently cheated on him. He claims, though, that when he placed Christina inside of that car, the vehicle was already running and the AC was on. He also claims that the moment they realized the car was locked and it was not on, that he told Rita he could break the windows, but Rita told him no. Now, obviously, this is all just what he has to say.
My name's Larry King, K-I-N-G.
Did you and the other defendant have a conversation which led to what we saw on the porch, that is you carrying the child out?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Tell the ladies and gentlemen what that I don't want you quoting it, but just tell them what the conversation was about.
Just about her being involved with somebody else, and we had talked about it, and some things broke my heart, and I just asked her to leave. And
all right. So it was about basically what you would call infidelity. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And in the course of that conversation, did she confirm that, in fact, that had happened?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when she said that, yes, that had happened, what was your reaction?
I was just hurt.
You didn't break anything in the house? Did you grab her or shake her or anything?
No, sir.
Okay. You asked her to leave?
Yes, sir.
And did she agree to leave?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then what happened next?
I put a child in the car.
All right. Well, you say you put the child in the car. Did you carry her out?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay. And why were you the one to carry her out?
Rita has an extra kidney, or has a lot of trouble, health trouble, and her daughter was getting heavy for her, and so she asked me to carry her.
Okay. And thinking back, I know you say you hadn't watched that tape, but thinking back, would there be anything inappropriate, wrong, or rough about the way you would have treated that little disabled girl?
Man, absolutely not. Never.
Can you imagine a circumstance where that would be your reaction?
No, sir.
Okay. So you stated you carried the child out, and we've seen the tape. Placed her in whose car?
Rita's car.
Okay. And where did you put her in the car, if you recall?
Behind the driver's seat, on the driver's side, in the rear.
Okay. And you stepped away then? Did Mom come and, get her settled or seatbelt or something like that?
I think so, yes, sir.
Okay. And think carefully. Well, if you need to. Was the car running when you put the little girl in?
Absolutely.
Okay. You say you're from Walterboro, is that right?
Yes, sir.
We know, we've heard, and everybody else knows it gets hot in Walterboro, yes?
Yes, sir.
And you grew up here. I know the state went to great lengths to prove to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury that if you park a car in the sun in the summertime in Walterboro, it gets really hot. It gets too hot. Were you aware of that before the scientists testified?
Yes, sir.
Would you have left that little girl in that car if that engine wasn't running and the AC wasn't on?
Never. Never.
Even with your feelings hurt, sir?
Never.
All right. At some point in time, and you don't have to give me minute by minute because ladies and gentlemen of the jury have seen the tape. They know how long things took and et cetera. But at some point in time, did the defendant at a other counsel table, did she attempt to leave?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what happened when she tried to leave?
She came back in and told me her keys were locked in her car.
Said the keys were locked in the car?
Yes, sir.
And what was your reaction to that? Not my problem. You cheated on me. Get out of here.
No, I tried to help her get in the car. I didn't know that anything other than that was wrong, to be honest.
Okay. Was the car still running?
The car was running.
Were you worried about the situation?
No, sir. Not really.
Okay. And if you had known, and I know you've seen what we've all seen, if you'd had any inkling that that's what was going to happen or was happening, what would your reaction have been?
I would have knocked that window out of that car and got that child. I had no idea.
Ah. So you made an effort to get the child out of the car, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Or to get the car open. Were you successful in that?
Not right away, I wasn't.
Okay. And how you tried is not important, but do you recall what you did to try to get into the car?
Some of it, yes, sir.
What did you do?
I tried to get in. I think I tried to pry the door. I tried to offer to knock out the sunroof, but Rita didn't want me to do that.
You say you offered to knock out the sunroof?
Yes, I did.
Not your car?
Not my car.
Okay, but you offered to knock out the sunroof, and she said no?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to take a different question if it's okay, Your Honor. Your answer earlier was you offered to knock out the sunroof. Is that right?
I did.
After offering to knock out the sunroof, did Miss Panalanigan respond? No, I'm not asking what her response was. I'm asking, did she respond?
She did.
And after her response, did you knock out the sunroof?
No, sir.
Thank you. Did y'all then come up with a different plan?
Yes, sir.
And what was that?
She said she had a spare key at her home.
Okay, and were you at this point just done with the operation, or do you continue to try to help?
I continued to try to help.
And what did you do to try to help?
I went and took her to get another spare key.
Okay, and when you left, was the engine running?
Yes, sir.
And was it running when you got back?
Yes, sir.
And did you think that AC was on?
Yes, sir.
Okay, 11:43, 11:44, correct on. You both go inside, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And I know you haven't seen the video, but it would surprise you that you stayed inside the house for about 30 minutes or so after that?
I guess.
Okay, and you don't come back out for a while, going back out there at all, do you?
No, so I laid down.
Okay, when the video speaks for itself on that, you lay down. Y'all were going back in just now. Were y'all going back in to have sex?
We went in, I think, to make up.
Pardon me?
We went back in to make up. Yes, sir.
After a 3-day trial, the jury deliberated for 2 hours and 25 minutes before finding both Rita and Larry guilty of the murder of Christina.
We, the jury, in the above caption, on the charge of murder of Christina Ann Panalanigan, find the defendant guilty. Oh my God! Oh my God! We, the jury, in the above caption case, on the charge of great bodily injury of a child, we find the defendant guilty. Oh my God! We, the jury, in the above caption case, on the charge of criminal conspiracy, find the defendant not guilty. And it's signed by the foreperson.
Yes.
Signed by the
No, you don't need to call the name of the foreperson. Signed by the foreperson. Do
signed
not.
by the foreperson.
Yes.
State of South Carolina versus Larry Eugene King. Indictment 2019 GS 3. We, the jury, in the above caption case on the charge of murder of Christina Ann Panalanigan, find the defendant guilty. We, the jury, in the above caption case on the charge of great bodily injury on a child, find the defendant guilty. We, the jury, in the above caption case on the charge of criminal conspiracy, find the defendant not guilty. This is also signed.
Here's an exact breakdown of the charges and the sentences that they were given. Larry King Jr. was found guilty of murder and guilty of causing great bodily harm to a child. He was found not guilty of conspiracy. He was sentenced to 32 years for the murder charge and 20 years for the great bodily harm charge, but the judge ordered this to be served concurrently, meaning that it can be served at the same time. So his sentence will be only for 32 years total. If he would have been sentenced to be served consecutively, that would have meant one after the other, and he would have gotten a total of 52 years. Why the judge chose concurrently is still mind-blowing to me. Rita Pengalingan was found guilty of murder and guilty of causing great bodily harm to a child. She was found not guilty of conspiracy. Rita was sentenced to 37 years for the murder charge and 20 years for the great bodily harm charge. Again, the judge ordered for this to be served concurrently, so she will be serving 37 years total. Now, it's obviously very likely that these two will die in prison. However, it's also possible that they may be released someday. In my opinion, those two people intentionally left a disabled girl inside of a hot vehicle thinking that they would be able to get away with it. Again, like I said in the beginning of this video, most hot car deaths are accidental, and a lot of the times they're considered to be accidental. But what these two did not expect, for whatever reason, was that all of it would be recorded. And that surveillance footage is what proved that those two people are absolute monsters. And in my opinion, they should have absolutely been sentenced to life in prison. As shocking as this case is, there's still more. Just 1 week after the horrific death of Christina, her older sister, Ashley Pengalingan, was arrested for leaving her children in a hot vehicle. 1 week after her younger sister boiled to death in a car. On August 12th of 2019, police responded to a Walmart off of Bells Highway in South Carolina after they received a 911 call regarding a baby crying in an unattended vehicle with the windows up. The responding officer found 2 young children in the back of the vehicle. A 7-year-old girl was in there with her 6-month-old sister. The officer was eventually able to convince the 7-year-old girl to unlock the doors, and when she did, she told the officer that her mother was inside of the store shopping. The incident report from that day states that the temperature outside was 91 degrees Fahrenheit. It states that the vehicle was on and the AC was running, however the AC was broken and was just blowing out hot air. After the officer arrived, it was roughly 15 minutes before Ashley even came out of the store. She tried to tell the officers that she was only inside for 5 minutes, but that's obviously not true. She was in there long enough for someone to see a crying baby in the back of a car, call 911, wait for an officer to arrive, and even after the officer arrived, they still did not see her for 15 minutes afterwards. Ashley was arrested and charged with unlawful conduct toward a child. She pled guilty and was sentenced to just 1 year in jail and 1 year probation. As of 2021, it appears that Ashley does not have custody of those children. Christina Ann Pengalingan was described as a purely loving and wonderful soul. She was her own unique self, stubborn to her siblings and her wants. Also, the biggest fan of Dora the Explorer and SpongeBob SquarePants. She was always eager to swim, but more eager to watch her cartoons. And before I end this video, I would like to take a moment to send my sincerest condolences to any loved ones of Christina. I am sending you all so much love and healing out into the universe. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time.